basics that I know coming from my mind what I think is important in building this business. So I've decided I'm going to do these. I'm going to have a presentation every week. I'm going to go all 6 classes 101, and then I'm going to go into the 201, do all 6 classes there in the next 6 months. I'm going to get through everything. So hopefully you guys stay with us as much as possible. Get here early, get a seat, because otherwise it's going to be jammed. But anyways, a couple of announcements first, and then we'll get into this. Number one, hopefully you guys saw you are now competing in the 7th annual Relentless Retreat. How many of you have been to the Relentless Retreat? One of you. Okay, good. That should be about it, because all of you should be new, right? So, guys, this is awesome. We run a 5,000 square foot log cabin on Lake Huron in Lexington. We take the top 3 winners at every, or top 4 and the top tiers, and then the bottom 3 senior rep, and then wild card. We take you up north to that cabin. We fly in a guest speaker. We feed you filet mignon, hand-cut, grass-fed filet mignon, and it's awesome. And it's really one of the best times of the year that we have. Ask anybody that's been. Tara, what do you think about the retreat? You've been a couple times, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about these guys getting there?
You don't want to miss that. The cabin is awesome. The lake is awesome. We have a great speaker. The food is fabulous. If you've never had grass-fed steak before, you missed out on something. Okay? It's amazing. And camaraderie of the group, the bonding that we do of the winners is just amazing. Like, you get tips from one another. You're having fun. You're playing cards. We're watching, movies. We're playing pool. It's everything you could ever think of. It's like just amazing. So don't let this go. Don't let miss out on it.
Thank you, Tara. I don't know what just happened here.
It's coming back. Yep.
Hopefully. Cross our fingers. There's Stita, man. He told me to move over and it freaked out. Here, I don't know what's going on with that. But anyways, yeah, get to the retreat, y'all. It's about being with other winners, right? Winners hanging with winners, right? Birds of a feather flock together, and all the winners are going to be there. Does anybody know how to open a window in here? It is hotter than garbage. There's a lot. Yeah, so unlock that thing and then we'll get going. There we go. Awesome, very good. All right, so we're going to start 101 with Our Crusade, our company, and what we stand for. And I think that it's so important that we equip new people, right? Because how many of you are in the business less than a month? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you have heard people say negative things about Primerica? Okay. That's the biggest killer of our new people, is uninformed, ignorant people who don't want you to succeed, right? Really, they want to protect you, but they don't know what they're protecting you from, right? And so they hear, say, they have other things that, they speak out to you, and you begin to doubt, like, hey, should I do this? Should I stay with this? So my goal tonight is to teach you a little bit about our crusade and our fundamentals, and then give you some ammunition to be able to go back and say, hey, look at this, right? Okay, so think about where our company started. Our company was started by a guy named Art Williams, okay, in 1977. Art was a high school football coach and a gym teacher, okay, who started our company on a crusade with 7 teachers, okay, so he found a better way. So Art Williams' dad died in 1962. He was in college. He had 2 younger brothers, one in high school, one in junior high. And his mom, who was a homemaker, had never worked outside of the house, was forced to go work 2 and 3 jobs because his dad died with a $10,000 whole life policy. Okay, so in 1962, that was not a lot of money, just like it's not today, right? So he watched his family get torn, right, and turned upside down, and watched his mom. She ended up getting very sick, dying at an early age as well, right? And at Art Williams' college graduation party, his cousin, who was a CPA in the state of Florida, came and sat down with him and said, Art, I want to show you something. And he said, Art, for the same monthly premium your dad had been paying for $10,000 of whole life insurance, he could have had $100,000 of term insurance. And your mom wouldn't be working 2 and 3 jobs right now. She'd be okay. Again, this is 1962. $100,000 was a lot of money back then. It'd be like $700,000 or $800,000 in today's money, right? And so Art couldn't believe what he heard. So he left that college graduation party, his own college graduation party, went to the library and started researching everything he could find out about life insurance. And to his amazement, what he found was that pretty much every expert agreed with what his cousin said, that term insurance and investing money into mutual funds always put the client way, like light years ahead of buying whole life insurance. Every article he read, every book he read, he couldn't believe what he had found. At that point, term insurance was non-existent. Okay, I mean, like, nobody sold it. Everybody had whole life. And he found a better way, and buy term and invest the difference, right? Okay, so here's an example of that, right? And then this may be basic for some of you, but I want you to understand this. So there's two types of life insurance in the United States, right? Okay, everybody needs life insurance, okay, and there's two ways to buy it. Cash value, which could be called whole life, universal life, variable life. If it's more than one word, it's that, okay? And then term insurance. So here's an example, right? John and Mary, $150,000 of whole life, okay, which is not a ton in today's day and age, right? How long is $150,000 going to last an average family making $50,000 a year? 3 years, right? Okay, so that's not a lot, right? So the monthly premium in this case, $298 a month for that, okay, and the cash value at age 65 in those whole life policies would be about $52,000 built up in cash, right? So what our concept taught was if you bought term insurance at pennies on the dollar, right, so you could buy more insurance for less money, you could take that savings and invest it, and you'd have way more money saved than you would have had in insurance. So here's the same couple, right? $300,000 a piece on a 35-year level term. Okay, so if they're in their 30s, how old are they when that term comes up? Mid-60s, right? Kids are grown up, debt's paid off, save money for retirement, shouldn't need a large amount of life insurance, right? But look at that, the monthly premium was only what? $124 a month. So they doubled their coverage for about a third of the price they were paying, which left them savings of what? $174. Invest that at 10%. At age 65, the investment is worth what? $600,000. So you look at the whole life, right? No matter what, they're going to get 150 grand when they die. No matter what, right? Okay. You look at buy term and invest the difference. If they switch and die quickly, they get twice as much. If they switch and outlive the term, and they don't even need as much insurance, they have 4 times as much in a mutual fund account that they don't have to be dead to get. That's an added benefit, right? In the whole life, you got to die to get the full amount of money. So here's the question I would ask you. Which plan would you want if you die too soon?
Term.
Right? Term. 100% of the time. More coverage, less dollars going out. Which plan would you want if you outlive it, if you live too long?
Term.
You'd still want buy term and invest the difference. 100% of the time, you all, 100% of the time, buy term and invest the difference is the right thing for the client. Let me help you dispel a myth. You're going to talk to some smart aleck insurance agent, your cousin who sells insurance, and they're going to say some sophisticated bullcrap to you like, well, one size doesn't fit all and every situation's different. No, it's not. Okay? A pickup truck and a car are fundamentally different vehicles. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay? No matter how much you want to style a car to look like a pickup truck, if it's actually a pickup truck and it's built on a pickup chassis, it's a pickup truck, right? And a car is a car. And this is the same thing with whole life and term insurance. I don't know of any situation on planet Earth where having a bad product is a good thing, right? Okay, but that's what they're going to say to you. They're going to say things like, well, in certain cases, it's better. It's never better in any case. Why would it be better to have a bad product? It's not. It's fundamentally wrong. The product is designed to make the insurance company tons of money, the insurance salesperson tons of money, at the expense of who? The client. Buying term and investing the difference is set up to give the client that value, right? And for the insurance companies to make much less money on it. Everybody good with that? You all understand that concept, that common sense. There are no exceptions to this rule. None. You can think of any scenario on planet Earth, 100% of the time they are better off doing this than buying whole life cash value insurance. Okay, and so that's what Art Williams found at a point in time where nobody had term insurance. They didn't even know about it, right? Everybody had whole life. Okay, so here's a whole life policy. Now I'm going to show you, so that was a hypothetical example. Here's a real example, okay? So this is whole life. It's kind of a little blurry there, but plan is whole life, okay? Face value is $250,000. Monthly premium, $163 a month, okay? And this guy was how old?
27.
27 years old. How many of you are 27 years old or younger? Okay, raise your hand. Now keep your hand raised if you have a life insurance policy with us. Okay, now how many of you are paying $165 a month for less than $250,000 of coverage?
None.
How many of you are paying $80 a month for $250,000 of coverage? How many, right? How many of you are paying $50, right? Okay, rarely, and that would be if you probably smoke or something, right? Okay,
Yeah, I'm smoking.
yeah. Okay, but if you're healthy, you're not going to be paying a lot of money for that, right? Okay, but this guy's 27 years old, right? $250,000, paying $163 a month. Okay, absolutely crazy. So here's what Primerica says. So the other company, right? Husband's got $250,000, wife $250,000, total monthly premiums over $300 a month for both of them to have even a somewhat reasonable amount of coverage. Approximate cash value in those policies will be $215,000. That's another smart aleck thing these agents will say. Well, it builds cash value, and that's true. It does build cash value, just not very much. And there's all sorts of rules to getting at it, right? Buy term and invest the difference is exactly the same thing as whole life, except it's an insurance company doing it for you with whole life and making all the money, right? Versus you doing it yourself. There's an auto garage down here, right? If you knew enough about doing your own brakes and your car needed a brake job, if you bought your own parts and did your own labor, you'll always do it cheaper than taking it to these guys downstairs. Why? Because even if they gave you cost on parts and cost on labor, they still need to make a profit to stay in business. Do you understand that? Right? So here's what Primerica said. Same $250,000, 35-year term. So this is just apples to apples now, right? Let's compare them even. $72 a month, okay, which freed up how much? $241 monthly. Now look at this. They saved this into a Roth IRA. How much money is that at 65? $1.2 million. That's at an average of 10. You all understand the S&P 500 has averaged more than 10% over every 20-year period since it's been recorded. So this is a conservative long-range investment, right? And Roth IRA is tax what? Tax-free, right? So again, some of these guys will say, well, there's tax benefits to whole life life insurance. There's no tax benefit to whole life life insurance that you couldn't get in a Roth IRA. Same thing, right? The trick is most of those guys don't have securities licenses. They can't sell Roth IRAs. So what do they sell? Whole life life insurance, right? Okay, so again, ask yourself the question, what's better if you die too soon? In this case, they're equal. It really didn't matter, except they were saving a bunch of extra money. What's better if they live too long? Clearly, if you gave the client a choice of $1.2 million or $250,000, which are they going to pick? Right, $1.2 million. What if they live an even longer period of time? This just gets better and better for them. As compound interest grows, right, at age 80, 85, that $1.2 million, based on rule of 72, right, has doubled a couple of times. Now they have $3 or $4 million. Do you understand the difference that Art Williams found? Made millions of dollars difference to the average family over a lifetime. Millions of dollars. I want you to think about anything on planet Earth right now that you could be doing that will literally take the people you sit with and put them millions of dollars ahead in their lifetime, right? I don't know what you could do, right? You name the job. I don't see any other thing out there that you're going to have such a direct impact in changing the lives of people through this concept, right? Okay, so let me show you a couple of these things here, y'all, right? So now, 35 years later, okay, the experts agree with us, right? The experts, every consumer advocate agrees with Primerica that buy term and invest the difference is the right thing for the consumer. So you guys know who Susie Orman is, right? Okay, Susie Orman's one of the most famous financial person. She says this: you should only look for one type of coverage, term life. There's another kind called cash value, which is a waste of money. Direct quote, okay? Dave Ramsey, some of you have seen Dave Ramsey, right? He says this: cash value life insurance is one of the worst financial products available. So he's not withholding any sentiments about this, right? If you ever have issues at a kitchen table, what I encourage you to do is type in your Google bar, Suze Orman life insurance or Dave Ramsey life insurance, and they will plead your case for you to the person sitting there and tell them how dumb whole life insurance is. So you might not be able to tell a client you're doing a dumb thing, but Dave Ramsey can tell your client you're doing a dumb thing, right? Okay, so these are some great resources for you. Okay, so here's the deal, right? Clearly better. Buy term and invest the difference. Clearly better, right? Everybody agrees with that? Clearly better 100% of the time. What has the industry done? Here's what the industry did. In 2013, according to ACLI, which is like the Encyclopedia of Life Insurance, the average death claim that was paid out in the life insurance industry was how much money? 38 years later, Art Williams building the machine of Primerica that's out there killing whole life policies like crazy, and we haven't even put a dent in the marketplace. The average death claim that was paid last year industry-wide was under $13,000. Folks, what is $13,000 going to do for a family who just lost a breadwinner? That's going to put them in the ground. Who's going to pay the mortgage next month? Who's going to pay for food? Who's going to put money in their retirement savings so they can stop working sometime? Who's going to pay their health insurance? Who's going to send their kids to college? How are they going to get clothes? These are the questions you need to ask yourself, okay, and understand the goodness of what we do here, right? Look at the average face amount for a Primerica policy, $246,000. Guys, that's almost 20 times more coverage, right, than the average person walking around out there has. Do people need what we do? Yes. Is what we do putting people in a better situation? Absolutely, right? Okay, Primerica, listen to this, guys, paid over $1 billion in death claims last year. $1 billion to families. Stop and think about that and let that sink in for a second about what you're doing. When your brother-in-law tells you, I don't think you should do that, this is a legal documented fact, you all. Right? Primerica put $1 billion in the hands of who? Widows and orphans. The two most vulnerable peoples in our society, and Primerica is there with a check. Okay? So is what we are doing the right thing? You better believe it. Take a look at this. Here's some more stats. Today, 90% of the premiums that are collected in the United States for life insurance are funding what sort of policies? Folks, 90% of what's being sold out there is the wrong thing. 90%. 9 out of 10. You find 9 out of 10 people doing anything, that is a world-class opportunity, right? 90% of the premium dollars going there. But take a look at this. 73% of all those whole life policies are owned by families making less than $100,000.
That's not right.
So this isn't some rich guy with a big old fat policy he's paying 20 grand a year for. This is average Joe who's paying $100 a month for something he should be paying $10 a month for, right? And leaving his family grossly underprotected. That's the stats, guys. Listen, look at this. More than $129 billion in cash value loans. Now stop and think, right? A whole life insurance salesman is going to say, well, at least you have some money there you can get if you need it, right? And that's true, but you have to do what? Loan it to yourself at interest. Now, if you bought term and invested the difference, you would also have money there you could get. The difference is it's your money and you don't have to loan it to yourself, right? Okay? 100% of the time, this is the best. Okay, so Art Williams started this company on a crusade. So you need to understand that. He started with 7 teacher friends to correct an injustice and to right a wrong. Art Williams said his goal was to put every insurance company out of business and to turn them into pizza parlors. Okay? In 1977, when Art started this company, there were over 2,000 companies selling life insurance. Today, there are less than 250. What happened to them? Art Williams happened to them, right? They couldn't sustain themselves, so they just kept buying each other up, okay? So he found a better product and a better what? A better way. So these guys just can't compete with us. People say, well, why is Primerica the best? Here's one of the reasons right here. In 2013, this is how Primerica stacked up in terms of advertising costs. You need to understand how life insurance companies make money, right? A life insurance company knows there's a cost of client acquisition. They've got to get a client somehow, whether it's advertising, paying for an agency structure, paying a commission to a rep. There's money built into the premiums that goes out to these things. Take a look at this. Y'all heard of State Farm, right? Last year, State Farm spent $38 million on advertising on their life insurance segment alone. Well, folks, who pays for that $38 million? The policyholders. The money's got to come from somewhere. Look at New York Life, Northwestern Mutual. New York Life, $130 million on advertising alone on the backs of the policyholders. Folks, how can they compete with us when we spent 34 grand last year? a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded firm, and the entire ad budget was 34 grand. Okay, they can't. Art found a better way, right? So instead of paying to advertise big fancy offices, they decided to do what? Recruit part-time agents that they didn't have those costs with, and to pay you and I as the advertisement, right? As word of mouth, people who were concerned citizens saying, this is wrong. What these companies are doing to people is wrong. They're hurting families. They're putting families in a position they can never get out of, right? And we want to do something about it. Look at this. In 2013, Primerica paid $536 million to you and I, to the field force, to go out and do that advertisement, right? Does advertising work?
Yes.
Sometimes, but who knows how much, right? How much? Who decided to buy, who didn't, right? It's a shotgun. They set it out there and some people respond. Primerica said, we're going to pay the person that does the job. So now 1 penny gets wasted. If you make no sales, how much money does Primerica pay you?
Zero.
None, as it should be. And if you do sales, how much money do they pay you? All of it, right? They pay the people that are doing the work, so they're efficient, it's streamlined. We're not shotgunning money out here hoping it works. We're teaching people a crusade, and we're paying the people that can communicate that clearly to other people, right? How can the business model of shotgunning hundreds of millions of dollars compete against a company that doesn't have to pay anybody anything till a sale is made?
Yeah.
It's a better way. That's why our products are better 100% of the time. Even term to term, right? Everybody offers term insurance, but there's no term insurance like Primerica Term Insurance. It's the best product known to man, and we'll get into that in one of the other classes. But why? People ask you, well, why is Primerica better? It's pretty basic. We got at least $100 million sitting around that they don't, right? Because that went out the door on advertising. And what do? We put it into product improvements, making it more consumer friendly, giving promises to consumers that these companies can't do because all their money's going out the door on what ifs, right? Here, Primerica pays for performance. It's a better way. It's a better model. So look, the part-timer was how Art Williams decided to do this. At this point in 1977, there were no companies in America that allowed part-time sales force in the insurance and financial services industry. And Art Williams saw a niche. He said, if we can teach great people in the community about this cause, they're going to get fired up about it, right? How many of you have seen somebody getting ripped off by that stuff, whole life or the wrong sort of stuff, right? That fires you up. You look and you say, man, you're a ticking time bomb. Look at what's going to happen to your family, right? I had $50,000 a whole life on me, $50,000 on my wife. I was paying $104 a month from Snake Farm, right? And these guys, I was 22 years old, right? It would happen to me. Right? So they say, hey, let's pay part-time people to go out there and tell our story across the kitchen table. Respected people, right? Pastors and coaches and businessmen and stay-at-home moms and all sorts of people that can go out and communicate it, right? Instead of the outdated model of advertising, Art gave part-time entrepreneurs a chance to live their dreams, right? He said, you can build as big as you want, you can recruit as many people as you want, and Art changed an industry. Okay, so let's keep going. So here's the deal. This is the second part of Art's better plan, was allowing people the ability to build a company within a company. So you've seen this before, right? Revenue minus what? Expenses or costs equals profit. In the traditional employment model, how many of you have a job? Raise your hand if you have a job in one way or the other. In the traditional employment model, it is impossible for you to win long range. And the reason that that's impossible is that your salary is which? A revenue or a cost? A cost, right? A company's goal, their sole goal, their bottom line goal is to increase profits. You understand, a company is not okay if they're publicly traded, they have shareholders. You cannot not grow your profit. It can't stay the same. If it stays the same, your stock price starts going down. They want profit upon profit. So there's only two ways to get this, right? I want you guys to understand this. There's two ways to get higher increase in profit. Step one is increase your revenue and keep costs the same, right? That would be more bottom line profit, or lower your costs, right? Okay, so y'all are familiar with somebody called HR, right? Okay, HR is employed at your job to figure out how to keep you employed there so you don't quit, but pay you as little as possible in the meantime. You understand the corporation's goal is to get you to do more, but pay you the same or less, right? When somebody quits, in today's corporate world, what happens? The 4 or 5 people that were working in that group pick up their work, but they don't pick up their pay, and the corporation has succeeded. They've cut an expense, the workload is getting done, it's just heaping on top of the current workloads of other employees, right? How many of you have ever had more work added to your plate without a salary increase? Okay, this is standard practice. Why? It's supposed to be that way. Well, that's rotten and that's evil. No, it's not. It's how it works. It's how it works. But most of us are playing in the wrong game. Why? Because we've been taught by people playing in the wrong game. See, back in the day, think about it like this. In the turn of the century, in the 1900s, right, between 1900 and 1910, almost 90% of America was self-employed. They owned farms, they were blacksmiths, leather workers, doctors, attorneys. They were small business people and self-employed, right? And what happened is the Industrial Revolution began to take place, right? And people needed to come into the cities to be able to work in factories. So 2 things happened. The first is public education was created. You understand that public education was nowhere near what it is now until the turn of the 1900s, right? When there was a large need for rudimentary education level so people can communicate and work in the factory jobs, but not enough ambition to not want to not work in the factory job. You understand that? Okay, so here's what happened, right? So everybody's self-employed, they all run their own business, they all do that, and they have the ups and downs of self-employed people. And so the big corporations, they understand the only way I'm going to get these people to leave that to go into corporate world is we got to make this deal sweet. So they did, right? They gave people great wages. Generally speaking, you could come and work for 20, 30, or 40 years and retire with a pension, right? So you knew, man, if I work my 30 years here, I can stop and I'm good. They're going to take care of me for the rest of my life. And largely that's what happened. How many of you had parents or grandparents that had pensions and lived off them, right? It's just part of the normal way of doing things. That was a normal way of life. Well, see, here's what happens, right? So generation 1 comes out of the farms, comes out of self-employment, goes into mega employment in the corporation, and things are not too bad, right? The middle class starts to flourish. Everybody's American dream is becoming a reality. They're owning homes, they're living in cities and middle class suburbia, right? And things are okay. They work 30 years and then they graduate, right? They graduate to retirement and they're taken care of for the rest of their life, right? Now, what happens to generation 2? Generation 2, they don't need to give them quite as sweet of a deal because they don't know how to be self-employed. They're a generation removed from the skills, the mindset, the property, the things that the previous generation had, right? So it took a lot to lure generation 1 out. Generation 2, they could offer them a little bit less. Now pension plans, maybe not so much, but you know, you can still work for 30 years and you'll get Social Security and we'll give you a nice match, we'll pay for your health insurance, all of these sort of things. It's still an okay deal, right? You're loyal to the company will be loyal to you, right? You all know people worked for one company their entire life, okay? Well, now we're 3 generations in. And what's the corporation offering today?
No, 401.
Right, 401 that you can contribute to maybe, but they're not going to do too much on. You getting your health insurance for free anymore? Right? The costs are going up. Your costs of living increases are disappearing. Raises are gone. Right? Why? Because they know you have no choice. You're 3 generations removed from being self-reliant. Right? And we have an education system that caters to that philosophy. Go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a worthless piece of paper to get a good job, right? 40 grand a year. Kids coming out of college today, if they can make 40 grand a year, they're pumped, right? They have 100 grand of student loan debt owed by our federal government, right? They were loaned to by the government, paying interest, can't discharge them in bankruptcy. Folks, you got to understand, the system that you have been taught is rigged against you. You can't win, right? Are there any good jobs out there? No. Some of you might not like that, but again, just like there's no good whole life insurance, there's no good job. There's no good job, okay? Why? Because the system itself is bad. It's inherently bad. It's inherently serving the interest of the employer and to the disinterest of the employee. Do you understand that? Does everybody get that? You have to learn how to think about this because Primerica offers a better way. Art Williams found a better way to give people the ability to go back into the entrepreneurial spirit, to start a business on the side without taking the risk of losing the corporate job that they have been dependent on and working their way out, right? But business ownership, 100% of the time, if you could make what you're making now and not have a boss and control your own schedule, everybody would do that. That's basic, right? So the concept of free enterprise, entrepreneurship, being a business owner is attractive to everybody. But we're so far removed from the skill set, the mental toughness, the property required to be able to do that because our forefathers gave that up for these great promises. Now we don't believe we can do it. And Primerica is a place that says you can come here. We'll give you training classes on how to run your own business, how to be your own boss, how to make it out there in the free economy and go back to an economy of small business, self-employed, instead of an economy that's dependent upon the employer, because that's not working anymore. Would you all agree with that?
Yeah.
What worked 50 and 60 years ago and was a good plan is not being offered to us anymore. We've got to find a different way, and this is the way, right? So understand, you're in a losing situation. It cannot work for you long range here. It is set up to hurt you and for the benefit of your employer. Okay, so you all have hopefully seen this. This is called the cash flow quadrant. So there's a guy named Robert Kiyosaki, very smart gentleman, okay, one of the leading entrepreneurs in America today, and he wrote a book called The Cash Flow Quadrant. What he says is in the United States of America, there are 4 ways to make money legally. There are other ways we will not discuss tonight, right, that are not legal, but if you want to make money legally in the United States, there's 4 ways you can do it, right? Way 1 is you have a job. Again, most of you raised your hand. You have a job. This is the road widely traveled, right? Widely traveled because it's the easiest thing, takes the least amount of effort, and it's what's taught to us from generations of people who were told this was the way. So the problem with this is time equals what? The only way to get more money is to get a higher wage for your time or to put more time out. So only 2 ways. There's not a third way to make more money, right? The problem with that is time is a finite resource and your wage is dictated by you or your employer. Your employer. You're out of control of both of those areas, okay? So if you're in the system, you perpetually have a lack of money and a lack of time. Generally speaking, unless you're a highly paid exec, then you just have a lack of time, okay? And the money's there. So 100% of your income comes off of one person, you, right? So stop and think about this for a second. What happens to your paycheck when you stop working? It stops. It's dependent on you and your ability to work. Now, at some point in each one of our lives is going to come a day when we do not want to go to work, we cannot go to work, or we have passed away and physically are useless to our work any longer. That's coming. Would you agree? 100% of us. And at that point, every time, all the time we put out, all the skill sets that we have accumulated are worth what? 0. Nothing. Which means the next generation has to do what? Start over at the beginning. You're sitting here right now because nobody in your family has ever figured out how to get out of this sort of situation permanently, right? You're not sitting in here with a big trust fund and you don't need to ever do anything for the rest of your life. Somebody stored up millions and millions of dollars and gave it to you. You're here like I'm here because we have wonderful people in our family that love us and try to do the best thing they could, but they were working in a broken system too, right? So generation after generation, look, whatever your beliefs are, you've been walking around for at least 6,000 years of recorded history, okay, as somebody in your family, yes or yes, right? Somebody in your family has made it all the way through to now, or you wouldn't be here, and nobody has figured out a better way, right? Their income stops when they stop, and you're forced to fend for yourself, right? Okay? So every once in a while, one of these employees wakes up and says, this is a terrible way to spend my life. I want to have control. I want to do my own thing. So they become what? Self-employed. This is a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, a CPA, a professional, right? Okay? These people own a job, right? So you got to understand what a self-employed person does. A self-employed income still comes 100% off who? Themselves. They just have rid themselves of some of the downsides of having a job, namely a boss, not controlling their own time. They have choice and time flexibility, but they still are completely dependent on themselves. If a lawyer's not billing hours, how much money is he making? If a doctor's not seeing patients, how much money is he making? Right? Okay, if a CPA is not counting beans, how much money is he making? None. right? It's 100% dependent. So part of the problem got fixed, but not all of it, right? Okay, so then you move over to business owner. A business owner owns a system and has leverage of people, okay? Leverage of people. They have other people making money for them, right? So this is a 1% times 100 model, right? There's a great quote up here from J. Paul Getty, which is one of the world's richest men around 1900. He says this, he says, I would rather earn 1% off 100 people's efforts than 100% off my own efforts. Pretty basic, right? Okay, but that's not what's being taught to you. And you're going to talk to people that don't like Primerica because Primerica is not their normal game where it's 100% off your effort. Primerica gives you the opportunity to live this quote out, to be able to have small bits of income from the efforts of large amounts of people, right? Do you understand that? So look, if you had 40 people working for you for 40 hours a week, you can earn income off of how many man hours? 1,600 man hours, right? Even if you only made $1 an hour, right? Okay, you made what? $1,600 off of how much of your own effort? Zero. This is called the delineation of time and money, right? So you don't need to make big amounts. You can make very small amounts off of lots of man hours, and you can become very wealthy and have total control of your time and your money, right? And that's what a business owner has, right? You own a system and people work for you. People equal what? Money. The more people you have that are doing work, the more money you're making. This is every business in America. I promise you, the guy that owns Jake's Automotive is not down here fixing every car. He's got what? Mechanics. And they're billing out 40 bucks or 50 bucks an hour. You think he's paying them 50 bucks an hour? No, they're getting 20 or 30, and he's getting 20 or 30 times 8 mechanics, times 8 hours a day. That's why he's got a big fancy motorhome, a couple of Cadillacs, and you never see him. Why? Because people equal money. How does he get more money? Open another location with more people. How does he get even more? Open another location with more people, right? This is called leverage. You need to have leverage in your life. If you have a job right now, you have no leverage, the company has all the leverage, right? Once you make enough money, you can become an investor and have money working for you, okay? So rich people wake up tomorrow even richer than they were today. Why is that? Their money is working for them. 24 hours a day, compound interest never ceases. Compound interest doesn't get sick, it doesn't have babies, it doesn't call in, it doesn't go on vacation, it doesn't get Alzheimer's. It works forever, regardless of you, your skills, anything. Compound interest favors no person besides the person that puts it to work for them. The poor wake up tomorrow poorer than they were today. Why? Because the same phenomenon is working against them. They owe interest. You have a loan right now that you owe interest on. If it's on an average daily balance, which pretty much every loan in America is, tomorrow, technically, you owe more than you owed today. You went to sleep and got poorer. The rich went to sleep and got richer. So you know there's a gap, right? The gap between the rich and the poor is getting what? Wider, as it should be, right? Is that fair? Yes, it's fair. You might not think so, but it's fair. One group has employed the principles of money and compound interest for them. One point is a victim to compound interest and a lack of education on money principles. End of story. There's a lot of people who have high incomes that are poor. You see 50 Cent just filed bankruptcy, $500 million gone, right? There's a difference between high income and wealth. Right? Some of my wealthiest clients live in small little houses. You never know how much money they have, and some of these guys have a ton of money. And they didn't make tons of money. They did what?
Save.
They learned the principles of money and got compounding interest working for them and not against them. So let me ask you a question tonight. Which one of these four are you in? If you're in this one, you need this business model to get you out of there, because the question I'll submit to you is, what written plan do you have right now to move from here to here? Right? And the answer, if you're sitting here, is Primerica, but that's probably the only answer that's rattling around in there. You have no written business plan with capitalization and something that you can go and execute to take you from point A to point B, right? You'd all agree with that. Now that you see this, right, you're in a system that doesn't work for you, you can never win, you've got to move from here to here. That's what Primerica has to offer you, is a better way, right? But listen, people who are stuck in this system and that's all they know, they don't understand this system. If they did, they'd be where? They'd be there, right? Everybody wants more money. Everybody wants control of their schedule. Everybody wants time freedom, right? They just don't know how to get it, right? Do you understand that? So let's go ahead and go next thing, right? So a track record of success. Look at the scoreboard, right? Primerica has developed more people earning $100,000, $250,000, $500,000 a year than any company in American business on a residual recurring basis, right? So we have a track record of success. Anything worthwhile will have critics, okay? So how many of you understand now a little bit better why what we do is right and what our cause is, right? And how we have the ability now to fix the major problem with how you're earning money, right? Okay, but you're gonna have critics. If you're gonna succeed in this business, you're gonna have people that don't agree with what you're doing and will not be bashful in telling you so. Have any of you realized this yet? Okay, so I'm gonna give you some things that you can share with them. This just came out about 3 weeks ago. Forbes named Primerica as one of the top 50 most trustworthy financial companies in the United States. So Forbes is a big time financial magazine, right? The guy that owns this, a multi-billionaire, okay, super well respected in the business world, right? And Forbes, who does not, we don't advertise with Forbes, right? You saw how much we spend on advertising. I'm sure one page in Forbes costs more than that, okay, right? But independently has concluded, based on this metric and this metric and this metric, that Primerica is one of the most trustworthy companies in the financial business in the United States. That's a big deal, y'all, right? How many of you have heard this? Primerica is a pyramid scheme. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about this. Is Primerica a pyramid scheme? Now, obviously the answer is no, but why? Why is this? Well, here's what a pyramid scheme is. A pyramid scheme is an illegal business structure where there's no sale of a product or a service. You need to write this down if you're not taking notes. No sale of a product or a service. Okay? The money in a pyramid scheme, right? So let's get our nomenclature down. It's either an illegal pyramid scheme or it's something else. It can't be a pyramid scheme that's not illegal. By definition, a pyramid scheme is an illegal business operation, okay? So a pyramid scheme is a business in which there's no product or service exchanged for money. All the money comes from the recruitment of people into the business. So here's how this works. For example, you spend $300 to join the pyramid. No product is exchanged. You get 5 people to join for $300, you make $100 each. The remaining money goes upline. How much do you get paid in Primerica to recruit? Zero. Right here, you could, right? Did you pay money to join Primerica? You did. You paid $100, which you get back by going to your licensing, following some directions, right? So theoretically, test number 1, you'd say, well, that kind of looks like that. At level 2, this stops and cannot be a pyramid because you don't make any money to recruit people. End of story, right? I would encourage you, get an independent business application on paper and go look at the Primerica contract, about 6 bullet points in, and you'll see a line that says, I understand I do not make money to recruit people into the Primerica sales force. I earn money off of the commissions generated by the sales those people make. So you understand, at level 2, Primerica ceases to be in line with anything illegal, any form of a pyramid scheme. Why again? Because there's no money being generated to you for simply recruiting. The money comes from the sale of financial products. So anybody who tells you this is ignorant of what a pyramid scheme is, most likely, okay, right? And B, they just don't understand. So if anybody tells you this, the first thing that you need to think is, I'm dealing with somebody that is ignorant of how the business works in general. It's not their fault. They're trying to probably help me from getting into something that potentially could be bad, but that's not this. Right? Is everybody following that? Why? So look, level 3 on this is each of those 5 you recruited, each recruits 5, which equals 25 people, who each spend $300 to join and that's where the money comes from. Okay? So clearly not this. Money is generated 100% from the sale of financial products, not from POL subscriptions, right? Nobody makes money from POL subscriptions. Nobody makes money from recruiting people. It cannot be, by definition, an illegal pyramid scheme. Everybody good with that? Okay, so this is how you talk to those people. Okay, all organizations of any sort are organized in this model. The Girl Scouts is organized in this model. Your church is organized in this model. There's no such model where there are 10,000 people at the top living off of one guy at the bottom, okay, except Social Security, okay? That's a government-endorsed pyramid scheme, okay, right? What product or service are you getting for this? Nothing. You're paying in, and people at the top are taking out. And there's more of them at the top than are at the bottom, right? So understand this, right? So here's how an organization works generally. A CEO, a president, vice presidents, over this, over international, over domestic, over research and development, middle management, team leaders, supervisors, hardworking employees at the bottom of the pyramid with virtually no ability to become the what? The CEO. No ability to do that. So when people ask, is this a pyramid? I say, no, because it's not. And then I'll ask them, I'll say, well, Jeff, let me ask you a question. Where do you work?
Ford.
Ford. And I'll just draw it out, maybe on a napkin or something. I'll say, Jeff, does Ford have a CEO? What's the CEO's name?
Mark Fields.
Mark Fields, great. And how many CEOs are there?
One.
One. And then Ford has a president, probably an international president, a domestic president. So there's probably a couple of those guys. And then there's a bunch of VPs, right? VP of this, VP of that, VP of this. More of them than the presidents, right? And then there's all sorts of middle managers. You're probably one of them, right? So you're a middle manager. Congratulations, you've climbed half the pyramid. Okay. And then there's team leaders, right? People that report to you. And then there's everybody else, right? So I'll draw that out for them, and then I'll, line in the little X marks I made, and I'll ask them, Jeff, what shape does that look like?
Looks like a pyramid.
Looks like a pyramid. Okay, so every business on earth is organized in this manner. There's nothing wrong with this business model, right? A pyramid structurally is the most stable form on the planet. Geometrically, a pyramid is, if you're an engineer, you know anything about engineering, it is the most stable form on the planet. It's the most structurally solid form you can have. That's why every business is organized this way. Primerica is no different, right? But it is not a pyramid scheme. Okay, everybody good with this? And then at the bottom says, no thanks, looks like a pyramid scheme, right? There are negative things on the internet. Any of you ever seen those, right? You will, for the rest of your career in here, meet people who are like, well, I found something negative on the internet. I would ask you to Google, I hate God, and you will see 300,000 hits of people who hate God.
Moon landing holes.
Okay, so everybody hates everything today. That's okay, no big deal, right? But let's go ahead and look at some actual things here, okay? So I pulled this out. This was a report from August 20th, so about 12 days ago.
All right.
Consumer Affairs, pretty reputable site, right? Okay, let me read to you this man's review. My review. We went to an orientation for a business opportunity last night in Dallas. There were about 200 people roaming about. Before we even went into the meeting room, my wife whispered to me, pyramid. I'm like, how does she know that already? She says they all have dead fish eyes. It was true. We walked into a horde of zombies, kind of like visiting a Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall. And the featured speakers were way too enthusiastic about the issues at hand. Creepy, to say the least. And yes, it was a pyramid scheme, or politically correct multi-level marketing, which are two very different things. One is an illegal business model. The other one is a perfectly legitimate business model. Primerica is the name of the company. We didn't stay past the hour-long introduction. Response: her instincts were incredible. I have learned over the years, any opportunity to ask for money up front, or if the presenters are a bit overzealous, it's time to bolt. That is, unless there's a free meal involved, then bolt. No free meal offered by Primerica, just leave.
That's very helpful.
This is the sort of things that get your new people to quit. I saw some negative things on the internet. So let me take you back to 2nd grade when you learned a concept called critical thinking. And in that concept, you were taught to review information and then ask critical thinking questions like, who wrote this? What is their credibility? Is this a legitimate article? Right? What is the foundation of these things that they've said? So there were about 10 factually incorrect things here. And plus, this guy just wanted a free meal. Okay, right? Like, look at what he wrote. But these are the reasons you'll have people quit. So you need to go and understand this is what the negative things that are out here about Primerica. Poorly written things by completely ignorant people, right? Such as any opportunity that asks for money up front is a bad opportunity. Why don't you tell me any opportunity on planet Earth that doesn't ask for money up front? So how many of you need a degree to work in the job that you're in now? Okay, keep your hands raised. Okay, so if you don't have a degree, can you get that job? No, you cannot. And to get the degree, is it free? So that opportunity requires you to expend money up front. How many of you ever looked into buying a business, a franchise, a McDonald's, whatever? You don't just get it, they make you give them what? Money up front. If you were going to start a lemonade stand at the end of your driveway, you would be required to purchase lemons, water, sugar, and that would require you to spend money up front. So if it costs you money up front to start a lemonade stand, which would be the most basic business on planet Earth, started by 5-year-olds, clearly this person is completely ignorant, not moderately ignorant, completely ignorant of anything having to do with business at any level. Would you agree with this? But it's out here on the internet.
So it's true.
It's the first thing that you find when you Google this, Primerica complaints. That's the first thing that came up. Nobody gave them a free meal, and everybody had dead fish eyes, right? I mean, seriously, right? Why am I showing you this? I want to give you some armor. I want you to understand that people who have negative things to say about us simply don't know what they're talking about. It is possible for you to make uninformed statements, right? And that's what these are. No, I don't care. This guy's an idiot, right? I have nothing to say to him. Hey, you're obviously making 35 grand a year in some hellhole that you hate. Good luck to you, man. It's exactly what you should have, apparently, right? Okay.
He has a great wife.
Yeah, his wife is very astute as well.
Yep.
Okay. So most of the negative reports you'll find about Primerica exist on a site called Ripoff Report. Okay. So go look at it. Okay. Ripoffreport.com. Okay, if you saw here, there were like all sorts of updated things like these are all in the past couple of weeks, right? So go and look at it. Complaint review from Ripoff Report. Primerica Ripoff Report verified. Businesses you can trust. Commitment to customer satisfaction. Positive rating for its customer support. So this is a watchdog agency that then goes in and tries to mediate complaints for people. Okay, so Primerica Review. Primerica offers excellent business opportunities and stands behind its products and services. Feel confident and secure when doing business with Primerica. Backed by Ripoff Report's corporate advocacy, business remediation, and customer satisfaction program. So this is the corporate entity Ripoff Report, where thousands of dead fish eye reviews are left from people who don't understand anything about business. And the actual site will go in and mediate, and you can print off a 3-page report about why they felt this way. This is a good thing to arm yourself with, you all. When somebody says, well, Primerica's a scam I saw on the internet. Well, really? Right? Let me show you some information that hopefully you will critically think about. Right?
Or not. Boing.
Come on, thing. There we go. Primerica Better Business Review rating, A+, which is the highest rating you can get. We have been a member of the Better Business Bureau since 1980. Okay? For 35 years, we have maintained an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Okay? So if Primerica is a scam, why do like all these reputable places that watch for scams not think Primerica is a scam? That's what these people do. Their job is to inform consumers about what?
Scams.
Scams. That's their job. One of them's name is Ripoff Report, for goodness sakes. You can go and report your ripoffs, right? And these people, every one of them, gives Primerica the highest positive reviews you can possibly get, okay, in the business world. AM Best, the largest rating agency in the insurance world, affirms Primerica's rating as A+, which is what? Superior. Well, I don't know about Primerica. Are they going to be there? Right? That's what enemy agents love to say about Primerica. Primerica is a fly-by-night. It's not going to be there. Well, according to AM Best, it's a heck of a lot better than most of those companies in terms of its financial stability to be there. What does that mean? It means they have enough money to pay claims. We paid how much in death claims last year, you all? $1 billion. And the rest of those fools were paying 12 and 13 grand a person. Right? You got to understand what you're dealing with here, right? I want you to leave this room feeling confident that you're in the right deal, that stands for the right things, and is backed by people that actually know what the heck they're doing, right? So when you meet Negative Nancy or Uncle Tim, who's a babbling buffoon, and they're saying these misnomers, you're not like, gosh, is that true? What if what he's saying is true? Look, I'm trying to prove to you, right? If it's negative, it's not true. There are people who make their entire careers out of finding and researching these things that rate us at the top of the top of the top. Go back to Forbes. Top 50 most trustworthy companies in American business in the financial space. Right? Says enough. Come on, you thing. Primerica stock. Primerica is publicly traded. Does everybody know what that means? It means you can buy stock on the New York Stock Exchange. It also means that anything having to do with the business is public information. As soon as anything happens, they have to release about it, right? So this is Yahoo Finance. All of you have heard of Yahoo, right? Okay. You can go to Yahoo Finance, type in PRI, and you can get every piece of information pertinent about our business. You can see all the numbers, all the assets, everything, what everybody's earning. You can see anything that has to do with Primerica on here from extremely reputable sources, right? So if you look at some of this, you got Business Wire, there's all sorts of stuff, Thomson Reuters. Okay, these are like mega firms in the financial industry that are reporting all sorts of different things that are going on with Primerica. Okay, anybody that's legitimately interested in whether this is a good thing or not can go here and look. Guys, there are 75 million shares out there in the public. 75 million. Now, they're held by all different sorts of people, but every quarter we have to file with the federal government, the Securities Exchange Commission, the IRS. Every quarter, everything that's going on has got to be done for public information. If there were issues going on, sooner or later, one of those regulatory agencies would find out, right? Okay? Sorry, I don't know what's happening here. So here's the end of the story, you all. Okay? Are we done? Is it 8 o'clock already?
8:05.
Holy dang. All right, so listen. Don't take advice from people that are not living your dream life. At the end of the day, I want you to critically think, right? God gave us all a mind. It's a very powerful thing. Most of us are zombie land, right? Okay? Zombies are not on Primerica. They're out there going to their job, right? I don't like this, but I'm going to keep doing it anyways because I don't know anything better to do, right? Okay? Don't take advice from people that are not where you want to be. Makes sense, right? But the middle class, right? The employee mindset, they love taking career and financial advice from people that are as screwed up or more screwed up than they are. That's craziness. And in this business, you have mentors that are where you want to be, right? That have financial independence and freedom. Why don't you go ask those people for advice, not people where you are? The blind leading the blind, both of you will fall into the pit. They're not going to help you. If they could, they'd have already what? Helped themselves. So you got to ask that. Next time somebody says something negative to you, wants to cast doubt on what you're doing, they belittle your dreams, they say, oh, one of those things. Ask yourself, is this person where I want to be in my life? And if the answer is no, you can discount virtually anything they have to say on this topic. if they're not a successful business owner with large residual income, equity ownership in something, then what's the purpose? What's the point, right? And I'll leave you with this. Think about it like this. If you went to 10 multi-million-dollar net worth, self-made business owners, and you said to them, right now I have a job. I don't really like it. I'm not making enough money, and they control my time. I'm considering getting financially licensed and getting an education in money and finance and starting my own business. It takes no money. It has no risk. I have a proven mentoring system, and this company has more people earning 6 figures plus than any other company in the world. Do you think that it's good that I try this, or do you think I should stay at my job where I have no future? What do you think 10 out of 10 of those multi-million-dollar business owners are going to say to you?
Do it.
What do you have to lose? Why not try? What do you think 10 out of 10 of your buddies at the water cooler are going to say to you? You know, but why? Because ultimately, they want you to be just like them. God bless you guys. We'll see you next week.